All right, everybody, the beat rolls on. Good afternoon on this Sunday, and we're still looking at linebackers, but now we're going down a little bit more. We're going down to the level of like competent starter, capable starter, should be all right for at least a little bit, but there's some downside. There's probably limited upside. You're not getting anything too special here. You're just hoping you get something that works well enough to get by for a little bit. And in the case of one of these guys, maybe you just cross your fingers that they ascend, right? But for the most part, this video is going to be about the guys who are just there to like provide serviceable play while you try to figure out the long term. So these would be more like your low end starters, guys who are probably good enough to start, but they're not going to do anything over the top great. These might be guys you go get if you get one of the big dogs, like if you bring back Jordan Brooks or you bring in Frankie Louvu. Maybe you also sign one of these guys for much less money and you roll with those guys as your two linebackers. So I'm not against it in that circumstance, but if one of these guys is like your primary inside linebacker for 2024, something probably went wrong here. All right, so first guy is a longtime NFL veteran. He's been around for a minute. He's been around on a few different teams. Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks has been around this league for a while. He's a former Super Bowl champion with the Eagles, third round pick. Played 4 years in Philly, went to Arizona for a while, and then went to Minnesota. And everywhere he's been, he's done his job and been a fairly productive player. Last 5 years, over 110, over 100, I should say, tackles in each of these seasons. He did miss 4 games last year, but when he did play, he held up quite well. And there's every reason to believe that Jordan Hicks could still be a viable player in this league. PFF thought that he played well in 2023 when he was out there. Again, he missed 4 games. They thought he played fine in 2022 as well when he started out in Minnesota. And you go back to his Arizona years, and it's still pretty respectable. So this guy has just been grinding out there for years, and now he's looking for a fourth contract. Now, his first contract with the his third contract with the Vikings was $5 million a year. So, given the fact that he's now approaching 33, he's getting up there in years, and he did miss some games last year. I don't think he's going to be able to get much more than that. In fact, I suspect it's going to be something like 4 million. So 1 year 4 million, 2 year 8 million, and you just buy yourself a little bit of time to figure out the issue while getting a good player. So Jordan Hicks, I think, is a viable option if you're just trying to delay the problem. Excuse me. Similar, no, excuse me, similar solution would be Lavonte David. And this guy is even a little bit older. He just turned 34. He's already up there. He's already at the point where we have to start really wondering about him. But he's had a great career. He's had an excellent career for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Looks like they might finally be moving off of him. He's made an all-pro team. He's made a Pro Bowls. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been very, very consistent in terms of his play. He's missed a handful of games in his whole career. His stats are strong. He's had some years where he's been a really good pass rusher as well. So Lavonte David is a very viable option if you just go, look, we don't know what we're going to be able to get in the draft, so we're going to get some short-term 1 year options to hold the fort down, and Lavonte David would probably work. Now, he's old, so the coverage is lacking. And honestly, with Lavonte David, there are some years where the coverage was lacking even when he was young, but you know what you're getting with Lavonte David. It's the same thing that you should have known you were getting when you got Bobby Wagner last year. He's old now. He can't move like he used to. If you get Lavonte David, you better know that he's not going to be able to keep up with these really fast tight ends and these wide receivers anymore. So you get him, you put him out there in that role, you're going to have a problem. So understand what he is now and what he isn't, and work accordingly. But by all accounts, this is still a quality player. Again, the bottom is coming. The father time is coming here. But this guy's good. This guy's been good for a while now. Good all-around solid player. Quality piece on a Tampa Bay defense that has mostly been good lately. So Lavonte David would be a great way to kick the can down the road another year and just say, we'll deal with this we'll deal with this next off season, or we'll hopefully be able to deal with it with somebody we draft. And Lavonte David made $4.5 million on his most recent contract, $4.5 million per year. Probably going to take less. He might be willing to take like 1 year, $4 million just to stick around. I don't know if he'd want to leave Tampa Bay. He might just say, look, I'd rather just be on one team my whole career. I just want to take whatever Tampa Bay is willing to give me. But if he's willing to break away, I don't think somebody at his age is going to demand the big bucks. So Lavonte David, 1 year, $4 million sounds pretty good to me. I would be willing to sign up for that. And again, you're going to have to work through limitations, but you should know what those limitations are before you get involved anyway. So I'm fine with that. Next couple guys here are a little bit younger and might have some upside beyond just being serviceable linebackers. First guy would be Kenneth Murray, former first-round pick of the Chargers. Just couldn't find his way. Could not find his way. The physical tools are there, the talent is there, the ability is there, but the production has not really been there. I mean, he on some level does produce, but it doesn't seem very conducive to actually playing football in a way that is helping your team win, right? He just kind of grinds along, puts up his tackle stats. Been relatively healthy in his career, I suppose. He missed some time in 2021, but excuse me, there's just nothing here that really stands out over the top. He's had some years where the coverage numbers were fairly strong, but he's also had some years where it was kind of ugly. And there's a reason why the Chargers didn't give him the fifth-year option and why the Chargers look like they're going to let him go in a few weeks here. PFF, not a fan. Very, very blah grades. Not even really like bad, just kind of blah. Some years are bad. Some areas are definitely bad. Like there was a little bit of a Patrick Queen comp you could have made at one point. I think that, it was like you had the Kenneth Murray, Jordan Brooks, Patrick Queen run on linebackers almost back to back to back, and all three of those guys really came out of the gate slow. Patrick Queen was able to correct to become a really good player. Brooks kind of hung out in the middle, and Kenneth Murray just never got out of the starting blocks any better than, he never really got any better than what he was out of the starting blocks. So talent is there. He's only going to be 25 when the season starts. He's still young. He's got good size, but it's not coming out. It didn't come out with the Chargers, with Brandon Staley. And if you get him, you're just hoping you can bring it out. He's going to be relatively cheap. Spotrac says 4 years. I'm sorry, $4.3 million over 2 years. So 2 years, 8.8. Could be. Maybe it goes up to like 4.5 because the cap went up, but it's not going to go up that much. He's not a player that deserves any kind of credibility in that regard. He's not a player who's going to be able to go out there and say, I deserve a bigger slice of the pie now that the cap's bigger because look at how good I am. No. This is a player who's looking for a second chance to prove himself as a viable NFL piece. So you want to bet on the talent. You want to give him $4 million a year, $4.5 million a year, knowing that you're going to get his physical prime years. Maybe there's something there. If you look at the tape, if you look at what he did in college and you go, I think I can figure this out better than the Chargers did, then do it. I mean, that's what Mike McDonald did with Patrick Queen, right? Patrick Queen did not look very good those first couple years. People made fun of him constantly. He was constantly the butt of jokes. Now, nobody's laughing. Final guy is kind of a sleeper here. Not a ton of guys will know about this one. Tyrell Dodson of the Buffalo Bills. Not exactly a household name, but he is entering the year in which he's going to turn 26, so age is working in his favor, and he's coming off a very impressive 2023, taking over largely for Matt Milano. So that Buffalo defense sustained some major injuries this last year. They sustained some serious blows to their star potential on that side of the ball. Matt Milano, chief among them. And one of the players that helped fill in for Matt Milano was Tyrell Dodson. The Bills still maintained their elite defense despite losing some of their best players. Dodson was a big reason why. You can see 10 starts, 74 tackles, 8 for loss. Did some work on the blitz. Was decent in coverage. Not anything crazy good over the top, but was workable in coverage. and showed big improvement over what he was in previous years when he didn't really play all that much. PFF loved his 2023. They thought he was an excellent all-around player in pretty much all regards, and there's some real promise poking out here. Now, he's not the most talented guy in the world. He was a UDFA. He wasn't somebody who had really done much of anything before 2023, so he could be a flash in the pan. He could also be the product of the system in Buffalo with some of the players he gets to play with and getting coached by Sean McDermott. But they were able to get elite level play out of him for a 10-game stretch. Now, because it's just a 10-game stretch, he's not going to get paid the big bucks, I don't think. Spotrac says $4.8 million a year. So if you're talking about like $5 million a year for a guy who showed this much when given a real opportunity, knowing that, hey, there's a chance he's just decent, chance that this is just kind of a fluke, that the 2023 was just random variants coming together to make him look like Ray Lewis. Even if that's the case, you're still getting a guy who's probably decent, and you're not going to have to pay out the nose for him. If you really could get him for like 3 years, $15 million, then I think that might be a better option than a lot of other things I've suggested in this video series. Like, you want to talk about upside. This is big time upside. So it's a bet that is worth looking into, I think. He might cost a little bit more because of how well he played and how good the Bills defense was down the stretch last year. But I don't think it's going to get to much more than like $6 million a year because there's just not enough of a body of work yet. So let me know what you guys think about this crew. These are the guys that you could save some money on, and you might end up giving it back in terms of production. But hey, I'm looking at these guys and I'm going, there's potential here for you to get quality play for a cheaper cost.